Hi, kitty cats. If you caught my stream last Tuesday, you will know that I've been feeling down. So I'm a little bit better today and still feeling depressed. But I've also been reading Starre Vartan's book, The Stronger Sex, and I wanted to take some action that was going to make me feel a little better. We're going to ask the questions here. Are women necessarily weaker than men? And are transgender women the weakest yet? No. Estrogen dominance in a human body brings many benefits, including harmony, cooperation, endurance, and adaptation, all of which are necessary to live as a woman in Western society today. So, let's talk about the strength of women, including transgender women, and celebrate those qualities that make us stronger. All right, well, first of all, let me first say hello to Bo Hall, hello, and also Ildiko Herrick, hello. All right, here's my little live stream opening bits-o plugs here. I am Dr. Amethysta Herrick. I am an author and a podcaster. I tend to discuss identity and gender. Oh, idiot, the audio is popping in and out. All right, give me 1 sec. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay, I did a restart on something. So Patty, if you can give me an indication of whether that cleared everything up, that'd be great. I am Dr. Amethysta Herrick. I am an author and a podcaster. I discuss identity and gender from a scientific standpoint. My background, so you know, is molecular biology initially, specializing in genetics, and then I went on to do a Ph.D. in analytical chemistry. And you can check this link below for more information about me and the work that I do. That website you can see is purplepawclan.com. You can find all the links that you could possibly want to follow me on all the social media networks that I'm on anyway. And you can also read all the articles that I write and view the podcasts that I publish. Okay, I'm glad the sound is doing better now. Fabulous. So if you like this content, I hope you'll consider subscribing at purplepawclan.com. You can actually get a subscription for as low as $5 a month, which is not bad. I also like to publish articles and podcasts by other contributors. So if you're interested in contributing your own original work about identity or gender, then I encourage you to email me. And once again, same link, just /contact. There's a contact page on the website. All right. So why am I doing this here live stream? A few things happened this week. I got really depressed, and that was on Monday. I'm not going to talk about that. At this point, it's too private for a live stream, and I'm not sure that I'll ever be ready to talk about something like that on a live stream. But I also answered a comment from Brenda Lee. So Brenda seems to be doing all kinds of, helping me out with content all over the place. But I answered a comment from Brenda Lee about the threat that Western society perceives from the transgender community. Well, no, transgender women. But then I also started reading Starre Vartan's The Stronger Sex, like for real. And I don't know if any of you saw, I had a Tuesday live stream where Starre came in and we talked a little bit about her book and what she got out of it and how she ended up doing all of the research. So I started reading it for real because, since I'm quoted in it, I figured I should probably at least, talk about it or read it. Sorry. And then I actually had a conversation with Starre on Thursday because we're considering working together on a project. I don't have a whole lot of stuff about that right now, but we're considering working together on a project, which is pretty exciting. So all of this together made me realize that although right now I'm feeling kind of weak, it really isn't true. The Stronger Sex, the book, contains plenty of examples in which female bodies excel over male bodies. Now I said that and then I'm going to change the verbiage kind of slightly. Give me a moment, I'm going to get to that. But today what I'm going to talk about is, first of all, why are women perceived as weaker? Why do we have to write a book called The Stronger Sex? Then I want to talk about why transgender women in particular get torn down by Western society. And then I want to talk about how women's bodies perform better than men's in many, many important tasks. And here I'll use examples from my own life, but I would really, really love it if any of you posted stories of your own strength. So in the comments below, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me about your strength and how you've, how your woman's body has excelled for you. So I also see Genevieve. Good to see you, Genevieve. All right, let me do this quick aside. Oh, hi, Sherry. Sherry just joined. Let me do this quick aside on human bodies. In the stronger sex, if you look at the introduction, Starre says she's going to use the words male and female. So she's going to distinguish bodies by sex, words that use sex. The introduction, in her introduction, she says she's going to use those because she doesn't have better terminology. And that's really the point. The scientific literature has used these words consistently for reasons that, there are a lot of reasons why. In part because those words existed before we understood a lot of human biochemistry. And so that is an aspect of it. But also society is familiar with them. And so Starre sort of pre-apologizes, says, look, I understand there are distinctions here, but I'm not going to make them in this book. And for what it's worth, this project that we're kind of talking about may make those distinctions. The thing is that the book, The Stronger Sex, is filled with examples that are not at all about sex, for what it's worth. It's not about the ability to produce and deliver a gamete for the sake of reproduction. In fact, she has many examples about children. The whole first chapter, a lot of the first chapter is about children. Thank you, Sherry. That was really kind. The thing is that there are many, many, many human bodies out there. Some are very typical cisgender male and female bodies. Some of them. But many present with some intersex characteristic. And I'm using the word many here, and you may be going, no, not that many. The thing is that there are 1,200 identified intersex characteristics, most of them not visible. Most of them not visible. So we're not really sure of the incidence of intersex characteristics because we typically only measure them when there's a dysfunction. When somebody wants to do, wants to have kids or feels tired or whatever, we only measure these things when the body appears dysfunctional. Many human bodies have been injured. Many human bodies have been affected by the environment. Many of them suffer from poor nutrition. And bodies age, you may have noticed. And all of these things change their biochemistry. And I would be remiss not to mention that many bodies are transgender. And we change our biochemistry on purpose. So for this discussion, I do not intend to use the words male or female when I'm discussing biochemistry. I will use the words man and woman because those are gender terms, and those gender terms are valuable when I'm not talking about biochemistry. But when I am talking about biochemistry, then I'm going to use terms that are like this, because these bodies aren't necessarily all about producing and delivering a gamete. They are estrogen dominant or they are testosterone dominant. And so I'm going to start using those terms: estrogen dominant bodies, testosterone dominant bodies. As a scientist, I mean, I love that, I love that here's somebody who's already saying, so words we've been using since the beginning are now obsolete. No, I didn't say they were obsolete, but you know how science works? Sunshine 333? The way science works is that when we learn more, we use different terms. See, we also don't use the humors anymore. Maybe you've noticed that. Sunshine, you're not helping the conversation here, so thanks very much. I'm going to let you go, because there are many conversations that do have more than two genders. Just because Western society does not imply that it does not mean the Western society is necessarily accurate. So For this discussion, I'm going to be talking about bodies that are estrogen dominant or testosterone dominant, because as a scientist, this captures what happens in the body better than discussing a gamete. Biochemistry is very, very strongly driven by hormone concentration and the ratio of hormones as well, testosterone to estrogen. This includes standard human development that you will find in any pre-med textbook. So standard human development of reproductive systems and also secondary sex characteristics. There is a longer term battle. I'm putting these out here. There's a longer term battle that I'd like to have with the general publics, including perhaps Sunshine 333's conflation of the word sex with sex characteristics, which are individual characteristics. So there we go. That's my quick aside that turned into like 7 minutes. I will use the terms estrogen dominant bodies and testosterone dominant bodies because this helps us understand prepubertal biochemistry, transgender biochemistry, intersex biochemistry, and any biochemistry that is outside what we consider typical human biochemistry. Because at the very least in children, some of these are subject to neither. And if you look at children, they have neither testosterone nor estrogen dominance. So, Patty makes the point. Patty says, we don't use humors anymore. Am I saying that comedy is dead? Yes. I'll tell you, this whole politically correct bit that I'm doing is killing comedy. So thank you so much for that, Patty. That was great. All right. I want to talk about, let me talk first about that comment I got from Brenda, because it was a very good comment. She made a point that the transgender community is pretty much a pawn in Western politics. And the way she put it is that the way that we're treated is, and I'm going to give a quote here, the way that we're treated is, quote, just the collateral damage in a war against women and children. Sit on that for a moment. Just the collateral damage in a war against women and children. That's fascinating. So it made me wonder how that happened. And actually, by the way, I want to make a point. Sherry has now mentioned that although she was assigned female at birth, she lacked estrogen and required supplementation. So thank you for that, Sherry. I appreciate that story. So how did this happen? How did the transgender community become a pawn in this war? In particular, I'm really curious why transgender men are never vilified the way transgender women are. And my conclusion, I've thought about this now for 3 years. It's not like I'm just coming to this, but Western society as a whole, and it's not even just Western society, much of global society views being born a man the highest accomplishment any human can achieve. Just being born a man, that's the highest accomplishment any human can achieve. It's not about education. It's not about wealth. It's not about political clout, although those certainly help to elevate men in an oligarchy. But just plain being assigned an M on your birth certificate's enough. You've reached that highest accomplishment any human can achieve. Romanian Pitbull has now asked Gentlewoman, yeah, this was a top that I got in Thailand. It's a beautiful little piece of a fashion that I got from Thailand. Thank you for pointing it out. Appreciate that. So viewing being born a man as one of the highest accomplishments that any human can achieve is, of course, sort of a defining characteristic of a patriarchy. Although Western society at this point is kind of trying to hide that. And it was demonstrated through examples actually Brenda brought up. We now have 2 executive orders out there. One that begins with defending women, and one that begins with protecting children. And I've done live streams about both of those. I'm not going to go into them in detail here. But in truth, what we're looking at are measures specifically designed to hold women and children back. Because they're not men now, are they? And being born a man, as I mentioned, is the highest accomplishment any human can achieve right here, at least in U.S. society. What we really see here is a world that values somebody like an Adolf Hitler over an Angela Merkel, Marco Rubio over a Dr. Condoleezza Rice or a Hillary Clinton, a Donald Trump over Kamala Harris, and for that matter, Hillary Clinton. Somewhat interesting. She shows up in two categories there. But it doesn't even have to be political figures when it comes down to it. Any yahoo with a dick can claim superiority over women because he feels that he's going to have more strength, he's going to have more speed, he's going to have more agility, more endurance, more of everything that makes a superior human. And this, he believes, hello Red Dog 1, this, he believes, is what makes him such a fabulous protector. Such a fabulous protector. And the more that he does, try to protect people, the more he can distract what he's actually working on. And we can just kind of look at incels here. I mean, I don't know any incels off the top of my head, but if you look at some of the videos that come out, we are not talking about, Arnold Schwarzenegger here. We're not talking about the cream of the crop, for what it's worth. Joe Rogan does not look like he could take Ronda Rousey in a fight. I think she'd probably punch him into next Thursday, like he probably deserves. So why are transgender women vilified as opposed to transgender men? And Romanian Pitbull, good point. All of those people are part of the establishment. But the establishment's pretty important because the establishment is what we're living in right now. Like we don't have, this is the establishment. That's a patriarchy there. Yes, they're part of it. Angela makes the point transgender men are the weaker sex. Stand by. Stand by. So transgender women, we are vilified because we don't want to be men in Western society. Where'd that even come from? Thomas L. We don't want to be men in Western society. And that's confusing for people who think that we would benefit, who think that we should be glad for that benefit. And this makes us a particularly good target from perhaps even, this Thomas L. person who says, are you kidding? Just a hateful, mentally ill leftist. Breaking news. Hateful. Hateful. How fascinating. Hateful. I'm the one actually here, Thomas L., who does not have your full name on there, who maybe is not even using your real name. I'm the one here trying to make some sort of a difference. You're out there just trying to dump on me. Where's the courage in that? There's none. So it's funky to people to realize that transgender women don't want to be men in Western society. It's confusing to them. People think we would benefit. We should be glad for that benefit. And this makes us a great target because we've chosen to give up what, again, Western society considers the highest achievement possible. Transgender men, not so much. They're actually in line with this Western prejudice, right? They're going, Western society goes, well, it's cool because look, they're trying to become exactly what you're supposed to be, right? So Starre and I had a different conversation as we discussed biochemistry, this biochemistry idea that we were talking about on Thursday. So let me ask the question, is testosterone or is estrogen stronger? There's been a lot of research on this. And again, I recommend reading The Stronger Sex because there's a whole lot of research in that. If we look at children, it's sort of common like belief anyway, that boys are stronger. Oh, here, by the way, Patty G has a great comment here to say that the criminal abuser is a protector of women. Yeah, it's a great point, huh? It's a really great point. Are boys stronger than girls? Well, research, believe it or not, shows that boys and girls perform about the same. Right. There is no major difference in strength, there is no major difference in sports performance, and there is no major difference in endurance. Turns out this really only starts to change when children reach puberty. Now, before I go into this, let me say, I'm Dr. Amethysta Herrick. I'm going to be talking about, I'm talking today about whether or not estrogen or testosterone dominated bodies are stronger. And there you go. That's what we're doing. So Romanian Pitbull makes the point, we are all felons. Because I'm not sure what you mean by that. I don't know if you're saying that you think I'm characterizing all men as felons, because I'm not. I'm characterizing a society right now. And Romanian Pitbull, you live in a society. And you may disagree with that society, and that's great. You know, I'm glad if you do, I'm glad you do, because that's what I would hope. That being said, I am talking about a general trend in society. So stand by on that. What happens around puberty? What happens when a human body reaches puberty? The defining factors on strength and, Romanian Pitbull says we commit 3 felons on average a week. I'm fairly confident I don't, but, you know, okay. I mean, maybe I'm just saving them all up to have like 1 week at the end of the year where I can commit like 156 of them. So we'll see. But the defining factors around sports performance and strength, muscle size, bone density, a whole lot of characteristics appear to be, first of all, what did the children do when they were younger? When they were pre-pubertal, what did they do? Were they engaged in lifting heavy things? Did they go camping and whatnot? Did they climb trees? Did they engage in activity that would cause greater strength? It also has to do when the children begin to specialize in athletic activities. So like if you look at football players, soccer, sorry, I guess. So if you look at soccer players, if you have somebody who started play, there's an interesting correlation between elite athletes and having older siblings who played the same sport. The older sibling doesn't actually end up the elite athlete. The younger one does, because that younger one started engaging in that activity at a very young age. So those are two things. What did they do when they were younger? Did they lift heavy things? Did they engage in a particular athletic activity when they were younger? But then another big one, how the children were treated within their social environment. And what's fascinating is the social environment appears to be one of the most important factors. Girls are taught not to roughhouse. They're not supposed to run. Nobody is supposed to see them sweat. But boys are taught they can go and jump on each other all they want. They can punch each other all they want. We even have a saying for this, right? Well, boys will be boys. It's fine. They're punching each other. It's fine. Boys will be boys. But in families, research indicates, in families where girls are treated the same as boys, in the general social environment, those girls will go through puberty and gain a very similar strength to those boys. Now, admittedly, there are some size differences, and so these are when you've corrected, at least in some point, in some way, for bone size, etc. But what's fascinating is that anthropologists studying early societies will find that women's bones, the bones that they find, so fossil records, right? The fossil records of women's bones indicate much more upper body strength than modern women. And that's because back in the day, apparently, when fossils were being made, women took part in activities that required similar strength to a man. They did take part in some hunting. They did take part in tilling. They took part in grinding grain. All of these take strength. And guess what? Women had it because they needed it. You can't survive in a world that requires strength unless you have it. This is not evolution. In part, this is society. This is being taught. This is our entire society being taught that women are weaker. These are people being taught that the highest accomplishment you can achieve is being born a man, and then you can stop. And in part, this is evolution. This is science. It turns out that estrogen-dominant bodies, notice I'm using that term now, estrogen-dominant bodies exhibit different biochemistry than testosterone-dominant bodies. And I want to remind you, right? I mean, like I said, my background was molecular biology, specifically genetics. I want to remind you, there's only one human genome. Yes, we differ in one chromosome of one pair out of 23. That's a small chromosome that doesn't have a whole ton of stuff on it there. And out of 22 other chromosome pairs, each of us has mostly the same set of genes. Now, admittedly, how they express, yes, differs among us individually. We each have our own individual biochemistry, but you don't see like a male Krebs cycle, a female Krebs cycle. The overall biochemistry, the overall human metabolism is very similar to among estrogen dominant bodies and testosterone dominant bodies. Now, what they do with that differs, but the processes they go through are not. So here we go. So Romanian pit bulls say chromosomes are a choice. Well, fascinating little tidbit here. We're actually seeing quite a bit of evidence that psychology, cognition, let me say that cognition and emotions affect expression of genes. Is that a choice? No, that's an environmental impact more than anything. But we're seeing actually quite a bit of research that indicates that epigenetics is something that we really need to study, because we don't know why some genes turn on and some genes turn off. We don't necessarily know all those things, and hormones are a part of that, yes, but so much of the environment is as well. And the worst part is that it's actually, well, I don't want to say it's the worst part, but one of the most fascinating parts is that it is a feedback loop. Right, so you're in an environment that maybe has poor nutrition. So you receive poor nutrition and your genetics express themselves differently. If you go into an environment that has better nutrition, you may, depending upon what age you are that you had poor nutrition, you may make that up, but you may not. It turns out that if you have poor nutrition pre-puberty, it's hard to make that up post-puberty. So there's a big feedback loop. Our environment affects our genes, and we carry that with us through the rest of our life. So Patty G makes another good point here, which is that churning butter isn't easy. No, grinding grain. I mean, there's when you look at early human societies, yeah, we've got people churning butter with that's not the gesture I want to make. I'm so gonna get banned here, aren't I? They're churning butter, they're grinding grain, they're tilling soil by hand, they're picking things, they're shucking corn, whatever. Is that the word for it, shucking corn? Who knows? Anyway, they're doing all these things that require upper body strength. And women in early human civilizations, or early human villages, had that upper body strength. It's not that women can't get it, it's that today we don't get it. Let me see here. Are we talking about the Amish? No, not necessarily talking about the Amish. Yeah, washing clothes without a machine. There you go. Think of the sirens in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, right? Slapping them on a rock and stuff. I don't think that's it. All right, so I want to talk, where was the thing? So I want to ask this question. Now I'm going to pose this question. How do estrogen-dominant bodies differ from testosterone-dominant bodies? If it's untrue that necessarily the human body, regardless of the one chromosome on pair 23, if I've already gone through the point that the overall biochemistry is very similar, how do estrogen-dominant bodies differ from testosterone-dominant bodies? This must be in some biochemistry, and it turns out there's quite a bit more to it. Okay, well, Romanian Pitbull asks us all to listen to his flatulence. Thank you, sir. Here's one way in which estrogen-dominant bodies excel over testosterone-dominant bodies. Harmony and cooperation. Well, in communication, actually. Harmony, communication, cooperation. There is a common belief, at least in part because it's true, that women are more placid, that women are more peaceful. And some of this, no doubt, is certainly social. I was in industry prior to, I've been in academia, I've been in chemistry industry, I've been in the software industry, and in all of those industries, men are expected to fight each other. Men are supposed to try to establish some sort of dominance in a hierarchy. There's supposed to be some alpha male that's out there. Fascinating to find out that estrogen-dominant bodies appear to cooperate more readily. I saw a video once, I don't remember who sent it to me, but I saw a video where the guy was saying, well, in testosterone-dominant bodies, it's not that they're more aggressive. It's not that naturally there's a biochemical result that causes aggression, but that our society rewards aggression. And I think there's something to that, there's no doubt, because this society definitely rewards aggression. But well, there we go. See, as long as we're going to be talking about flatulence, now Bo brings up an estrogen-dominant body that they could clear a room with one windbreak. I'm not sure. You do know that estrogen-dominant bodies don't actually fart, right? I mean, it's proven. It's science. Anyway, when I began to transition, so I said I've been in the chemistry industry, I've been in academia, I've been in software, in management, executive level management. When I began transition, I found out I didn't feel like I needed to be the winner. I want to build communities like this. I want to talk about things that teach people. I want to help people understand not just the transgender experience, but how what I've learned fuels the entire human experience, because each of us has a human experience here. And I didn't have to be the winner. When I started transition, I found that. I have no desire to compel anybody to do what I ask. Now, you could contrast that with the desire for legislation that we see our current administration doing. I mentioned 2 executive orders, but you need no legislation when truth is on your side. Estrogen-dominant bodies tend to handle aggression better. When they receive aggression, they tend to handle it better. This includes mean comments in my live stream. People have said to me, wow, can't believe you keep your cool when people come in and say jerky stuff. Hey, Miss Chief, good to see you. Mean comments in my live stream. People say, wow, I can't believe you can handle those. Yeah, well, I think if I had not started transition, it would be tough. It would be very difficult. But estrogen-dominant bodies tend to be better at expressing and then processing emotions. Romanian Pitbull, I wanted to wait on your comment until I got to this, made a point, I am woman, hear me, bitch. As it turns out, estrogen-dominant bodies appear to be, because they're capable of expressing and processing emotions better, it's likely that estrogen-dominant bodies are capable of more reasoned thought. Better and more reasoned thought, because there's calm and clarity. And these bring reason. And I found that when I started my own transition, when I started using estrogen patches. And I think if you want any further evidence here, for what it's worth, I think we can just look at the rough breakup that we saw between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, right? Those Twitter posts were anything but calm, anything but rational. There was no cooperation going on there. There was no desire for harmony. These were two people who were trying to hurt each other because they were pretty much two pissy looking, two little pissy kids spewing their emotions all over the public. Fascinating to see. Hi, Brenda. Now Brenda's here. Good to see you too, Brenda. Harmony and cooperation. That is one way in which estrogen-dominant bodies tend to excel over testosterone-dominant bodies. Another way that estrogen-dominant bodies tend to excel is endurance and pain threshold. Now you may go, oh, endurance, that's not true. Research, and again, you can go and read the book, The Stronger Sex. There's plenty of this in here. Research indicates that testosterone-dominant bodies do excel at rapid, explosive movements. And so that's lifting a heavy weight, punching a face, I don't know, throwing a ball, whatever. They can put out a high level of power for a short duration. Oh, I wish Margie was here. Margie had the engineering background. If we go back to like our standard physics, recall from physics, I always hated that when I saw it in a book. Recall from physics that if you put out a high level of power for a short duration, you can do a lot of work quickly, but you can't do that work for a long time. It turns out that estrogen-dominant bodies, on the other hand, excel over testosterone-dominant bodies at slower, longer duration movements. We were talking about churning butter, grinding grain, but here are a couple of others. Carrying children over long distances. That's another one. How about gathering all the food that didn't come from hunting? And although we'd like to make out like hunter-gatherer communities, we're getting all kinds of meat, they weren't. We know that very well because of fossil records in the jaw that shows that they were chewing things that were much harder than cooked meat, or raw meat for that matter. So gathering all the food that didn't come from hunting. So estrogen-dominant bodies are able to put out a lower level of power than a testosterone-dominant body, but for a longer duration. And it turns out they can do this work slowly, but they can do more work over time. More work. Okay, more. So if you have somebody, if you have a guy who can like drag a big, huge weight, 100 yards or something really quickly, great. It turns out estrogen-dominant bodies may be able to take 50% of that weight, but go a whole lot farther. So there you go. Let me grab a couple of comments here. So Brenda says it took her almost a year to start to understand actual feelings. Yeah. I'm glad you're getting better. She says she's getting so much better. It's difficult. Well, we're not taught how to do this, right? We're taught to suppress our emotions. So, and you understand this. It's not like, I'm making any revolutionary claims here, but, we definitely, have to learn how to do that. And unfortunately, I think that there's a whole lot of, the gender dysphoria presents as many different types of symptoms, and so we end up with being treated for other things that might have been gender dysphoria, and then once we do get that taken care of, all of a sudden we're like, oh damn, now we have a whole lot of things we got to figure out what to do with. So, all right, let me see. So Bo Hall says, please, nobody take this out of context. Studies have shown that women are more likely to survive from a projectile wound. Well, thank you. Actually, yeah, wow. That's hard not to take out of context there. But my next point was estrogen-dominant bodies endure injury better. Turns out there's a better pain threshold. Estrogen-dominant bodies have a better pain threshold. It may be part of why the endurance is better, because there's a better pain threshold. But if you need evidence, this is. I've never used one of these, so I'm saying both of these things I'm going to bring up as evidence. I have not done, so, take it with a grain of salt. But look up videos of like, there's always like a big burly man. They'll put this menstruation simulator on the guy, and, they'll put it on like level 1, and the guy will fall over and start crying. There are women who are like, no, that's like normal cramps. I get that once a month for like 2 days. Wow, falling over. But then also consider why estrogen dominant mammalian bodies bear children instead of testosterone dominant bodies. It also turns out the estrogen dominant bodies have, I guess all of this, putting all this together, we see estrogen dominant bodies have an endurance, physical endurance as well as mental endurance. Right? When you're calmer and you're less prone to aggression, you can endure more ridiculous behavior. And once again, I think I got to point out comments in the live stream, but I don't know. There you go. So let's see. Patty G says, weren't the Olympics non-gendered until estrogen-dominated folks started winning? I got to tell you, I'd have to look that up, because I think a lot of that had to do with, I think the early Olympics had to do with wrestling. And as it turns out, Starre covers women's wrestling, female wrestling, girls wrestling, really, in the book, in The Stronger Sex. And it seems that because women tend to have, estrogen-dominated bodies tend to have lower centers of gravity. And incidentally, I didn't bring this up, but estrogen-dominant bodies also tend to have better balance. That actually means a lot in wrestling. How about that? So it could be, Patty, I don't know the answer to your question. It may be true, but I'm sure that would be relevant. Certainly be relevant. So Sherry says she loves the cramp simulator on dudes. One of these days, I got to go and try one of those. I don't know who has one of these, but I've got to go and try one just so I can go, oh, yeah, that's awful. So let's see. So Brenda also says she's not sure if you hit her girl, she cries like a baby. Well, that's a good point. All right, so endurance and pain threshold. So now we've gone through harmony and cooperation. We've gone through endurance and pain threshold. I've got one more, which is adaptability in the environment. But before I do, I'll do my station identification. I'm Dr. Amethysta Herrick. I am talking today about the differences between estrogen-dominant bodies and testosterone-dominant bodies. You may think of those as female and male bodies, but just who is the stronger sex here? And I'm riffing at least a little bit off of my friend Starre Vartan's book, The Stronger Sex. So go and pick it up if you can. It came out 6 weeks ago. Yeah, July 15th, I think it was. Go pick it up. All right, adaptability. Early humans faced a lot of things. Early humans faced threats of many kinds. It turns out typically less from aggressive animals than an aggressive environment. Think of that for a while. And the thing is too, the animals were in the environment too, so they had to, they were subject to it as well. It's not like, early environment was lovely. Humans and the animals faced changing food sources, right? You could only hunt and gather in one area for so long. Humans were nomadic. Early humans were nomadic. We knew that much. But then there's also, when you look at climate changes over long periods of time, and we think that Homo sapiens goes back, anywhere from 300,000 to 500,000 years. There is a lot of climate change that occurred over 500,000 years, and that changed food sources. Changed like a lot. Plants changed. There was evolution of animals. There were some animals that died out. So extinction events. There was also early humans faced the need to walk long distances carrying a lot of schmutz and then engage in repetitive activities. A lot of repetitive activities. We've already mentioned, Patty said churning butter. I brought up grinding grain. And it turns out, again, all of this you can read in the book, estrogen-dominant bodies tend to have better immune systems. So when you have, when the overall global temperature rises and you start getting more putrefaction, So it happens that estrogen-dominant bodies tend to have better immune systems. Estrogen-dominant bodies tend to bear changes in heat and cold better. And there's at least one person out there now going, no, 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 no. No, my wife is always cold. I always have to have a blanket for her. Well, I said changes, tend to bear changes in heat and cold better. They also tend to bear hunger and thirst better. Like if you don't have a lot of food, they tend to bear caloric restriction better. They tend to bear conditions that aren't stimulating, like if you're going to walk 20 miles. They tend to bear or grind grain for 8 hours, conditions that aren't very mentally stimulating better. Testosterone-dominant bodies will get more colds. They tend to fatigue more and can fatigue more in the heat. Chill more in the cold. Undergo caloric restriction more poorly, and aren't able to do some of the tasks that were necessary for early humans. So I've got my own examples here. Hang on. So disabled veteran says, I never paid attention in the sexual education class, so I still don't understand enough to be a doctor, nor do I have any aspirations to be one. I also didn't pay attention in anatomy and physiology. I appreciate you sharing that with me. I assume there's another message coming up, but thank you. This is part of why I want to talk about some of these things, because it's fascinating that many people don't know some of the things that I'm talking about. But I will talk about my own examples here. As far as heat and cold go, at the very beginning, it was January, I think it was January of 2024. Yeah. Beginning of January 2024, I started taking cold showers, as cold as I could make them. And I know whenever I mention this, there's at least one person drops a comment that says, no way, I am not taking, cold showers. But I'll tell you, it's at this point now, like a hot shower makes me feel kind of logy. I'm like, oh, I took a hot shower. A cold shower also kind of proves to me what I can do. It's kind of fascinating. When I first doing those, I would, I'd jump out of bed and I'd be like, oh, I don't even want to do this. I really don't want to do this. And then I'd get in there and I'd get into the cold water and I go, I am the strongest person on the planet. This is so great. Another fascinating thing is that along with these cold showers, my immune system seems to have gotten a lot better. And I don't know if that's, again, hormone therapy or whatever, but that's something else. Since I began transition, my meditations have deepened significantly. I found that I can focus on things much, much better. Much, much better. I can do those tasks that need to be done, but are boring. I can do those more readily. And that's good because it helps, in the world today. So those are things, adaptability in the environment. So Angela brings up, I only have one more section here. I just try to make these things last somewhere around the order of an hour. And they always seem to. It's kind of strange. I don't really plan it out well, but maybe I just plow through them quickly. I don't know. But so Angela makes the point, as a transgender woman, she does not feel the cold and can cope with the heat. That's weird. See, same. I feel like my ability to handle temperature changes has improved, and I think that's kind of cool. So, disabled veteran says, I'm going to say he. I don't know which pronouns are. Disabled veteran, so I'm taking a guess. Says he's sorry he can't comprehend much of anything I'm talking about. If he wasn't hit in the head so much, maybe he would. Okay. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry you were hit so much in the head, first of all. Maybe that's why you're disabled. And if so, let me just say, first of all, thank you for serving our country. And serving our country to the point where you ended up disabled. That sucks. I'm sorry. Disabled veteran also says he doesn't know what a genital woman is. Yeah, when you say biological sex, or when you say biological woman, biological whatever, I've done a live stream on that. That the phrase makes no sense. Biological sex, biological man, biological woman, they don't make sense because biology doesn't actually hold up, whatever it is that people are trying to say. And I don't know why they always try to say it, but they try to use this phrase biological sex because in some way, apparently, there is a non-biological sex. Who even knows? And it's supposed to sound sciencey, and unfortunately it doesn't, because it's not science. All right. Bohal has said bacteria cannot populate as fast under cold water. That's a good point. That's a good point. And maybe that's part of why I didn't get sick. I don't think I didn't get sick winter of 2024, and I don't think I got, sorry, that would be starting winter in 2023, and I don't think I got sick winter of 2024 either. I guess we'll see what happens in this, see what happens in this winter, but disabled veteran makes the point hormones causes our body to change. Hormones cause our bodies to change. The end. Yes. Oh, that's so much what I am talking about right now. So I'm so glad that you've brought that up, because that's very true. We only have there's only one human genome, as I said. There's only one human biochemistry. How that biochemistry is expressed comes in part through hormones and anything else. Chris has a question for me. Sure, lay it on me, Chris. It may take me a second. I'm going to start going through my last section here because I want to take a break in about 8 minutes. All right, I want to talk about the highest accomplishment as a human. I talked originally about the highest accomplishment in a lot of society. Western society in particular claims that being born a man is the highest accomplishment possible. And I will challenge that claim. Just look around us. I don't think it takes a whole lot to see that this aggressive patriarchal system is clearly not working well. Just look around, you can see it's clearly not working well. Human health has declined. Our standard of living has declined. Overall happiness of people has declined. But what would help in a world where we have poor health, where we have a poor standard of living, where our happiness is depressed? What would help in this world? We could choose more people capable of things like calm and rational discourse, reasoned decision-making, the endurance to handle the changes that occur in the environment, the adaptability to flourish in changing environments, not just physically, but emotionally as well. I challenge that being born a man is the highest accomplishment possible. In fact, given the choice between somebody who burns really hard and really aggressively, but burns out as situations change, I would choose a slower road of reason, adaptation, and living on. I would choose building a society that can replace one so focused on mindless violence and passing blame. A testosterone-dominant body is great if we need a war. But that's most of what testosterone-dominant bodies bring with it, at least if you look around Western society. War and aggression. Human history is built during peace. And if you don't believe me, if you don't believe that I'm more suited to life on Earth than the Western pinnacle of accomplishment, I think all you have to do is look through some of the comments in many of my videos, because they are filled with mindless violence and not solutions. All right, that was everything that I had to present today. Now I'm going to go to Chris's question. Let's see what this is. Here's the question. Oops. Where'd it go? Oh, I hit the wrong thing. Do I believe that birth control represses women's estrogen, then it leads to higher testosterone? Do I believe that's true? I got to tell you, I haven't done research on it, and I'm not the kind of person who wants to make comments on things that I haven't researched. If you look at some of the original birth control pills, I'm forgetting even the pharmaceutical name is for it, let alone the scientific name. I'm much less familiar with those than if you look at something like Depo-Provera, which is a slow release kind of thing that's designed to prevent ovulation. that's not necessarily repressing estrogen. There's a lot that goes into ovulation. In fact, we're now starting to see that there are waves of follicular development within an ovary. We observed this in cattle, so bovines and equines. So things going on that, in animals, we're now seeing this. Well, in livestock, we're now seeing it in humanity as well. That making that one egg that comes out that's during ovulation, that it's much more complicated than we used to think it was. So first of all, yeah, birth control doesn't necessarily have to repress estrogen. It can repress ovulation, and it can also, in some other forms of birth control, you can also prevent implantation. So you can prevent forming this corpus luteum that's going to be capable of fertilization. So I don't know if I've answered your question or not, but we'll see. Disabled veteran, forgive me, I used he, him pronouns. I see now I was wrong. So she'll be happy. Well, actually, maybe I don't know, because maybe you're also transgender, and I don't think you've told me pronouns. But disabled veteran says they'll be happier when their uterus is removed. That thing has caused them a lot of pain, abuse, and trauma. I'm sorry, I wanted to sit with that for a moment. I'm sorry. Not only are you disabled and a veteran, you've had a lot of pain, abuse, and trauma. Once again, so how about I'm going to give you a heart? Unfortunately, that's the best I've got. Thank you so much for everything you've done. Let me see. Silver platter, where are you? Over here. Let me see. Oh, good. Here we go. You did tell me. Oh my gosh. I don't want to read all of this, but yes. So disabled veteran has gone through sexual assault because I think exactly what we've been talking about. Here you get testosterone dominant bodies where people go, well, I am the superior human here, so I'm going to, in this case, drug them, sexually assault them. It's awful. It's awful. Although, at the end of it, also points out that an estrogen dominant person molested them as well. So I'm sorry. So let's see. Won't be what? I'm not sure what that means. Okay, good. Thank you, disabled veteran. So not transgender, not trying to transition now or in the future, but you do want a hysterectomy, a full hysterectomy. Oh, there's no offense. Because, there are a lot of people who have full hysterectomies, not because they choose, but because they gotta. So there you go. Chris now says, needs to go to mental health. That disabled veteran needs to go to mental health. I'm unsure here. I mean, we're talking about somebody who's had a lot of experience. So, all right. On that, I've been here for an hour. I am going to take a quick break. Mostly what I'm going to do is get a little bit more water here. But I'm going to take a quick break, 5 minutes, and I'll be back. Again, I am Amethysta Herrick. I've been talking today about the differences between estrogen-dominant bodies and testosterone-dominant bodies, and I'll be back with more in 5 minutes. Okay, I am back. I'm going to put the comments up in a sec, but I do want to bring up, again, I'm Dr. Amethysta Herrick. I have been talking today in particular about estrogen-dominant bodies and testosterone-dominant bodies. My background is in molecular biology, specifically genetics, as well as analytical chemistry, in which I earned a Ph.D. So what I'm talking about here today not only has to do with some science stuff, but also some society. I'd like to get back to something that disabled veteran said, and hopefully you're still here, by the way. I'm going to run through a couple of comments. First of all, Chris said, thank you for answering his question. You're very welcome. I mean, I have no trouble answering questions. So funny, Brenda says, I can put the comments back up. So Brenda says she finds it difficult to believe that I could be offended. Were you here on Tuesday? Because I did get maybe a little bit, got a little bit, a little bit angry. I do like this though, because I do the same. I really, when you're like, okay, go ahead, and then somebody goes, no, 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 you go, and you're like, listen, we're at a stop sign, like you have the right of way, just go, like just, and they go, no, 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 you go, and you're like, so I'm with you, Chris. I hate that too. All right, here we go. So disabled veteran. I you know that you know my background, my educational background. I am not a psychotherapist. I'm not going to pretend that that I'm a psychotherapist. I have no desire nor qualification, expertise in psychoanalyzing you. So I'm going to say these things, and hopefully, you'll take it as it's just me sort of talking about what you've been saying. You're allowing your body to take the blame for other people's poor behavior. It wasn't your uterus that caused anything. Yes, take a grain of salt, shot of tequila at the very least. It was not your uterus. It was jerky people. Poor behavior has nothing to do with you. Poor behavior. If that person hadn't hurt you, that person would have hurt somebody else, because that hurt was in that person, not in you. So I think that's all. I think that's all I wanted to say. Don't take the blame for somebody else's poor behavior. That wasn't you. That was. It seems like a total of three people total who were abusive to you. And all I want to say is, please don't take that. Don't take the blame for their behavior. I mean, listening to you now, you seem like you're doing a little bit okay. So that was what I wanted to say to you. It's funny here, Mike Impressions and Reviews tells me my anger apparently on Tuesday. If you're bringing up what I just said about Tuesday, my anger was my testosterone kicking in. What was it? Mike, are you able to tell over the internet that I have testicles? That's fascinating. You need to take this show on the road, because holy cats, man, you'll make amends. Because as it turns out, I had them removed a year ago, so it must not have been my testosterone kicking in now, was it? Dipshit. Jeez. All right, here we go. So Rome says, hello, I am also trans. Hello, Rome. Good to see you. I don't know. Have we communicated before? Have you seen one of my things before? I'm glad that you're here. I'd love to hear some stories. I've been talking about, first of all, I've been talking about estrogen dominant bodies and testosterone dominant bodies, and how estrogen dominant bodies can actually excel over testosterone dominant bodies. And so I brought up a few of my own success stories, but you know what I haven't really heard are other people's success stories. Actually, I'm going to take that back a little bit, because we have heard quite a bit from somebody named Disabled Veteran, who is a woman veteran, disabled, apparently, who appears to have endured poor treatment. And I was bringing up that, the ability to endure both emotionally and physically is a characteristic of estrogen dominant bodies. So I guess in your own way, Disabled Veteran, you've given a success story, even if perhaps you feel that you don't have one. I would say that was success, because you're still here. So if anybody else has some cool success stories, because I could talk about cold showers again if you want. I'm going to go back. I'm going to tell you, if I have muscle soreness, no kidding, people go, oh, go take a hot bath or something. No. Really what you need to do is take a cold shower. It's really great. Holly has said, calm down, Karen. My name is Amethysta. Holly, thank you. But I didn't actually see that I was getting a bit upset here. Calm down, Karen. That may be the first time I've ever seen that. I'm not even sure what this person's telling me or asking me. How many boosters did I get? Who knows? But what I'm going to do is put you in I'm going to put you in a timeout because you deserve it. Because who even knows what you're trying to say? You just want to come on here and you want to, like, be pissy to me. And that's kind of mean. I don't know why you'd want to do that, Holly. Disabled veteran says, without reparations and justice, there really isn't any success. I'm going to disagree at least on a little bit. I don't disagree that justice would help. And reparations, absolutely. Justice and reparations, I would agree that it would help. That being said, if you look across human history, how many societies were willing to do some sort of justice? Were willing to take care of some sort of reparations? Not many. And unfortunately, if you're looking in this particular society, you're not going to get it either. That's a bummer. Already mentioned a few times, right, that this society, particularly the United States, believes that being born a man is the highest accomplishment that you can ever achieve. You're not going to get it. Whatever wankers did what they did to you, in some part, and I saw something in the comments above, in some part, somebody's going to say, well, were you wearing a short skirt? What were you doing to deserve this assault? What were you doing? I'm going to make a big guess that you were doing nothing. But that's going to be one of the first things that our justice system is going to ask. Our legal system, our justice system is going to ask. And that's in part, systemic. And so I guess what I wanted to say there was that being able to continue to exist in a society like this is a success in itself. And again, like I said, I realize you don't feel like you have a lot of success going on here with that. And you do. Let's see. Brenda has said that her experience as her true self is her greatest success. I love that. You know what? I'm going to put this up because it's a good one. Show that. That's a good one. Thank you, Brenda. Very, very true. All right, let's see. Disabled veteran says if that's the truth, which it's not, then that would mean the DOJ should be abolished. I don't think I'd agree, that it's not the truth. Sorry. I'm trying to figure out how I want to back into this. I got pulled into a criminal case. I ended up being an expert witness in a criminal case. This was back in January, so it's been some time. It's been 7 months, or almost 8 months since I did that. I think it was the first week of January. And in that criminal case, it was a criminal case against a transgender man, and that transgender man, for what it's worth, had not gotten bottom surgery. So this transgender man had no male or even male appearing reproductive parts. He was accused of using male reproductive parts to assault a minor. Ultimately, it was a minor. It was a young girl, 10 or 12. And he didn't have the parts, right? I mean, I've already said this. I was an expert witness there to say, here's why he would not have those parts, because not everybody who's transgender transitions. There is also a distinction between being transgender and going through the process of transition. And anyway, this guy was found guilty on all counts. The county, the district attorney, Patrick Perfetti, wanted to push for 20 years in prison for this non-offense. The judge actually increased that to life. I forget the name of the judge, or I would have said it. So the justice system is not perfect. There's discrimination within our justice system. And that's what I'm trying to say here. It's not that the Department of Justice needs to go away. The point is that we don't have a justice system that necessarily works because there's a lot of discrimination. This guy ended up, he has not gone to jail. There's an appellate process going on now. So Patty G, if you're asking WTF, he's still in appeals. He's in a jail. He's not in a prison. So it's low security, near people he can visit. But still, it's now been 3 years, I believe he's been in 2.5 years he's been in prison. There is discrimination. All of this is happening because he is transgender and for no other reason. The DA and the judge wanted to be mean to a transgender person, maybe make an example out of this person. Who knows? No, it was kind of fascinating because I showed up with my big boobs and my shortish skirt. It was, close to knee length. But I showed up, and both of those guys were really super nice to me. Apparently big boobs help in court. Who would have known? Bohal says that I must get hot. I must get angry, so that's why I go take cold showers. Maybe that's what it is. Angela says she doesn't get angry but stays calm, which used to be annoying to her partner when he was angry with you for something. Wow, really? Oh my gosh. I'll tell you, I used to be awful. I used to be so, oh my gosh, I would punch. There's a thing here. People may wonder why this poster here moved, because it used to be over 6 inches or so. I got really angry about something and I punched the wall. I can't believe it. That's the first time I've done that in probably decades. But I can get really, really angry, and when it was worse before I transitioned. Now it's crazy. I'm so much better. I do stay largely calm, and so I love that, Angela, that you do stay calm. So now disabled veteran now says the criminal justice system is not perfect and no religions are perfect. No, certainly not. No. Well, and I guess that's sort of my point. We can... I love this, actually, because then she says, trace it all the way back to Italy. I'm assuming you mean the Catholic Church. Ultimately, what became the large established Catholic Church, which had a huge political influence on Western societies, starting in about the 900s, 1000s, right? It's a great point. A little earlier, obviously, because I guess, what was his name? Constantine. Emperor Constantine. Roman Emperor Constantine. That was the 4th century, 4th or 5th century. So there you go. That goes back quite a way. A good leader isn't corrupt, disabled veterans. And you know what? I'm just going to pop this one up because that totally deserves it. A good leader isn't corrupt, but Doge is. I don't think Doge was precisely an example of good leadership, for whatever it's worth. But leaders, I was in management for not quite half of my career. It was about 25-year career. And I guess, it was about 14 years. So maybe it was about half my career. I was in management, ultimately, like I said, up to the executive level. And good leadership takes, for what it's worth, good leadership takes the ability to build harmony, communication, cooperation. It takes a certain amount of endurance. It takes a certain amount of pain threshold. It takes adaptability in an environment. It's so, I did well managing teams. I think because I am transgender, I did really terribly when I would go to like a C-suite meeting or something like that, and these are people who were pointing and shouting and everything. Ooh, that didn't work well for me, even pre-transition, because it just wasn't me. I'm just not I'm going to dominate, demonstrate my dominance. So Good leadership, I believe, good leadership means that you're going to, here's the way I see good leadership. This is my favorite allegory or metaphor. Good leadership, I believe, means demonstrating the qualities and then walking ahead, saying, I'm going in this direction, and being able to turn around and see that the people are coming along with you. Bad management means that you've got a stick, a pointed stick or whatever it might be. So let's go with pointed stick, and poking people in the back, going, we're going to go that direction, and having them continue to go, hey, what could you? Will you? I don't. That's it. I'm quitting. That's usually what happens. Patty G says her mom took her to see the movie Constantine only because she thought it was about that guy. That's not true. It can't. Is it true? I hope that's not true, because there are trailers online. I don't know. I think that's all I'm going to say. Oh my gosh, that's funny. So here we go. So disabled veteran, actually, as long as we're going to talk about religion, sure. Disabled veteran says Pope Francis was a good man because he tried to make reparations for the truth. Tried to make reparations, I think, for not always following the truth. I mean, when you're a pope, right, you're like, you supposedly have this hotline to God, right? I mean, so whatever he said could go. He could just go, hey, it turns out that, God told me that people with purple hair, all those people are going to hell. And then I would get one more condemnation, and I've got to put it like that. I would get one more condemnation, because at this point, I'm sort of like, yeah, sure. Condemn me all you want, whatever you've got. But anyway, Pope Francis. I admit I didn't really follow. I'm not following any popes, so I'm glad that there was at least one. I forget who Francis was. Was that Joey Ratz? Was that the Joey Ratz guy? I can't remember. But so disabled veteran says he wasn't American and he wasn't Italian, but he corrected Netanyahu, which was much needed. That's a bit of a surprise. Wow. Beat that. See, I didn't know that. Was that what the Berlin Codex was? Because I don't know what that is. I'm learning all kinds of stuff today. Thank you, disabled veteran. I want to connect with you if you could. I'd love if you don't mind, go to purplepawclan.com and send me an email. I'd love that. The Berlin Codex says there are 6 pages missing from the beginning and 4 pages missing from the middle. You know what? We're missing a whole lot of the Epstein files too. I'm not making any point so much, just saying, oh my gosh, Sassy Frassy Lass is here. Was it Sassy Frassy Lassie? I'm trying to remember. Sassy Frassy Lassie. I watched some video of yours the other day. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was funny, whatever it was. And hopefully I hit hard. Sometimes I forget, and if I didn't, sorry. But hi, how you doing? Hopefully you're still here, I wonder. So here we go. There's another thing. Mary... Oh, I see what you're saying. All right, so disabled veteran says that Mary threatened their greed and jealousy. Yeah, I really, really want to do some sort of a stream on this, but I don't know how to get into it. Somebody told me at one point when I did a stream on I forget what I did it on. Now I can't remember, but said, go and get this book by Silvia Federici called Caliban and the Witch. Now, I have not read the book yet, but I made some comments about, I know it had to do with magic and some of the history of science. And so she says, you need to read this book because the book actually puts together a whole lot of economic factors that went into the oppression of women coming up into the 20th century, in particular with initial accumulation. I'm trying to remember how Marx put it. But the original accumulation so that you can jumpstart like a capitalist society is you have capital, right, in order to jumpstart it. It's been a long time since I read Das Kapital, but, I'm trying to doing my best here. Anyway, religion has tried to strip out femininity for the longest time. And I'm going to be a little bit goofy here. This is it's not goofy, but it goes way, way, way back, because paganism, pagan people, let me actually say that, most of the pagan people believed in both gods and goddesses. They also believed that you needed the feminine in order for the masculine to work. And it was easy to believe that because, some of them were highly dependent upon the crops that were planted. And hopefully you're getting it. You have a seed that you're planting in a feminine, earth. So one of the first things they needed to do, one of the first things Christianity needed to do, was strip femininity from being sacred. If you can strip the sacred from femininity, then that means that you don't have, you can sort of get rid of a lot of paganism right there. And for what it's worth. Oh, hey, Matt. Matt just showed up. Hi, Matt. Thank you for the gifts. What was I going to say? Oh, and paganism, by the way. I mean, it's kind of funny. The word pagan comes from the Latin paganus, which really only meant people who lived outside of town. So it was hard for a priest to get to them. It had nothing to do with the religion so much, just that it was hard to get to those people. So, all right, let me see. So, Brenda says she's always hated confrontation and disharmony. Yeah, so true. Ugh, confrontation. Hate that. Wait, so the story was true, that your mother took you to see Constantine because she thought it was about the Roman emperor. Okay. Patty says she wasn't an internet savvy person and it was pre-cell phones. Okay, I mean, I'll go with that. I thought Constantine wasn't like a Keanu Reeves film? John Constantine? Was it like that comic, I think? I don't remember. Anyway, I didn't think that was that old, but Disabled Veteran brings up the point, Pope Francis knew the women shouldn't be quiet, but those that didn't know the truth pushed for it to be a requirement among their corrupted leadership. Yeah, well, Christianity and patriarchy grew up together. They do really well together. And Matt says, yes, it's a good flick. All right. Who knew? Yeah, about the comic. Okay. So patriarchy and Christianity grew up together. They kind of needed to. Once you strip the feminine out of religion, you can strip the feminine out of social systems, economic systems. And again, I think that there's a whole, Caliban and the Witch, something that I could talk about there. But, I was going to bring up something that I wanted to do a live stream on, and I can't remember what the hell it was. I don't know. History of religion? I don't even remember what the hell I was going to talk about. Oh, I guess it was just that. It was stripping the feminine out of stripping the feminine out of everything, I guess. So, let's see. Disabled Veteran then says, "Be careful around that Susan from the North Face and Vans. She likes." Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah, Susan. We're going to be away. We're going to keep away from Susan because definitely Susan's no good. Wait, your mom took you to see Our Lady of Clearwater, a holy site. Where is that one? Oh, well, that's nice. Actually, Disabled Veteran puts it as, if you need more proof that God truly exists outside of your personal body, then I guess Our Lady of Clearwater is maybe one of it. Tell me about that. Now I need to go and look it up. Matt, have you seen this? Where is it, first of all? Our Lady, I'm going to type here. And you can probably hear it because, wait, 1996 in Florida. Oh my gosh. I'm looking at this. So Our Lady of Clearwater refers to a phenomenon that began on December 17th, 1997, when a rainbow-tinged image appearing to be the Virgin Mary was observed on the south side of a building in Clearwater, Florida, known at the time as the Seminole Financial Building. That's pretty sweet. Can I see this picture close up? Can I see it? No, I'm not seeing it. Oh, come on. Oh, jeez. All right, well, now I'm getting a video. Internet. Jeez. Wait, so Matt says, yes, he remembers it. Because you're in the general... I don't know where Clearwater is. But Matt's in the general area of Florida, so run with it. But so what about the Shroud of Turin? I mean, because that was, I'm so far off topic here, but at this point, it doesn't matter. I don't know. Like the Shroud of Turin, that was another one, right? I mean, what could it be? Oh, Matt says it's across the states. Okay. But then, there's all kinds of things. Like if you have been to Niagara Falls, and maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But when I went to Niagara Falls, like there was no doubt to me. I mean, because when I went there too, I was not even like practicing pagan. But when I've seen Niagara Falls, there was no doubt to me that there was some sort of goddess that must live there. There has to be. It's just too beautiful. It's just too majestic. There's got to be a goddess that lives there. So I don't know. We can look at the Shroud of Turin. We can look at Our Lady of Clearwater. I'm gonna bring up something like a Niagara Falls, or even I can't think of what it was called, but it's in upstate New York, in Ithaca, like just up the side of the just up the side of the lake there. Oh, Brenda, is it a 12th century forgery? I hope not, but who knows? Hey, wait a minute. So now Disabled Veteran says, Hallow Michael, also known as Archangel Michael or Saint Michael, appeared in Orlando, apparently 2 years after that apparition. It's fascinating. Apparently Florida is just filled with religion, which is fascinating because their politicians seem to be filled with hate and discrimination. So that's kind of weird. Oh, no, wait a minute. Maybe that does make some sense. Maybe God's kind of like, listen, can you cut it the fuck out? Look at these. I've got miracles for you. I've got Our Lady of Clearwater. I've got Archangel Michael. Quit being such bastards. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I have no idea, but luminiferous is one of the only ways I can describe how he looked or appeared. Wow. I just like the word luminiferous. Even if there were many other ways that you could describe how it appeared, luminiferous is still the best. Pretty much. Zach Hyland says, I'm so confused. Presumably because I've called the politics in Florida corrupt. I don't know. Maybe Zach Hyland. Oh, wait a minute. Zach Hyland, I remember you. Oh my gosh. I'm ready now just to block you from my channel. It so sucks. I think there are people who go, listen, there are people who go, you know what? I'm going to come on your channel and I'm going to dump on you. And don't seem to remember, they're like, I'm the one who has this power here. Like, I'm the one who can just block you. I think they think they're trying to do something that's going to make me mad, but really the point is just, all I'm going to do is block you, and that's going to be the end. Like, Zach Hyland, you have done nothing to me ultimately, other than you've now had me, put you in timeout twice, and I'm just going to block you, report you, and block you, as soon as the stream's over. But I don't know why you would think that that's fun. I don't know, but. Brenda says there's lots of old people in Florida. Yeah, I think so. I don't know why. I don't know why because like it's really also super duper humid. Like, as the people that I've known who have gotten older are like, no, it wasn't Matt. It was over on the other streaming platform. There are, so for what it's worth, nobody seems to have integrated comments from this streaming platform into the rest of the platforms. I have no idea why that is. There must be some reason, and who knows why. Anyway, old people I know tend to go, oh, the humidity. They also tend to say, it's not the heat. It's the humidity. As if that's some sort of sage, it still feels like shit. Like, so I want to get out of here. So there you go. Disabled Veteran brings up the point that hatred toward any human isn't following the golden rule, and that's law. I'm going to go along with that. I know you're bringing up Jesus in particular at the Last Supper, as described in the Gospels there. You know, that Jesus left us was one thing with one directive, which was to love our brothers as ourselves or love our neighbors as ourselves, depending upon the translation. I am not a Christian. Apparently, maybe that's become obvious. But I do believe that if you expect people to treat you well, the best way to make that happen is to treat them well first. I have been speaking again about being like in management. I've had many times when I was in management where I said, well, I'm going to trust the people on this team. And I had like a manager of mine who was like, no, don't trust them. And I'm like, yes, but you become trustworthy by, first of all, demonstrating trust to somebody else. You get a cycle of trust going by first trusting somebody. And that way you can find out, are they trustworthy or are they not? Yeah, it might turn out that, you are wrong, and that would suck, right? But if you do trust somebody, they go, oh my gosh, I was trusted. Look at that. That's great. And it goes forward. Remember what I want to keep saying about harmony, cooperation, endurance, adaptability. These are people who are telling me no, that none of that is true. That's all crap. Anyway, by the way, that company, I might point out, folded. I don't mean to laugh at their demise, because that sucks, because there were some, gosh, at the biggest, I think were about 150 some odd people. I don't think quite 200. So that sucks, because that was a lot of people out of work. And at the same time, it was sort of a good demonstration to go see, look, if you do business practices like this, you might be folding. So anyway, let me see. I'm reading your comments, Disabled Veteran. There's a lot. Wait, so Our Lady of Clearwater has people what do they do? They're known as the followers of Christ. I wonder. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so now here we go. Sorry. Disabled Veteran says followers of Christ follow the golden rule and not because it's trendy. It's so fascinating. Every so often I get comments. I'll get comments on my on videos, whatever the video is, and it doesn't even make a difference. I had one in the last, I don't even know, last week or two. Somebody who said, you need to repent, or something like that. You need to repent because Jesus loves you. And I will always respond saying, I have no doubt that Jesus loves me. I just wish his followers could learn to do the same. And I think basically that's the point. You have people who go, well, our God says that we're allowed to hate you. He does? Wait, when? How did that ever become part of this? It's so fascinating that you can get people who go, well, we are a religion of love because Jesus was somebody who was very full of love. And then, go into like Old Testament type, solutions at the end of the day. Before Jesus. Sorry, if you weren't following along in the home game, that was pre-Jesus. So, Philippe asks me, do I love Jesus? I am willing to respect any deity because I think all deities are aspects of the same deity. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's what I got. Disabled Veteran makes a great point to say, beware of false preachers and false prophets. And Patty says those people haven't read the Bible. I do love sometimes when people quote something to me. Somebody will quote something that they saw somebody else quote, maybe even something like that. Philippe says the silence speaks volumes. Does it? I mean, because what I was trying to do was come up with a considered answer, because I don't want to give you some pat answer that is going to make you happy, because that's not my point here. I don't hate Jesus. again, I'm willing to respect any deity because this universe has deities that, in part help operate what's going on here. But see, I'm willing to respect other deities. I think that's sort of my point. If you think my silence speaks volumes, then maybe we don't have a conversation. I guess I don't even know. No, now Matt says that he does love Jesus frequently and vigorously. No, I think he meant like the deity, not like the guy down the road from you, Jesus. Cut it out. It's different. So Philippe says, I don't hate him, but, well, I mean, I think that was sort of my point there. It was, I realize we have maybe a little bit of lag here, but I don't hate Jesus. I don't hate any religion. Because I don't think it's deities that cause the problems on this planet here. It's people. People end up using religious messages to hate other people. So if I find anybody, regardless of how much I respect the words of Jesus, because for what it's worth, I was just talking about the Last Supper and the prime directive given, right? The golden rule and the Last Supper and the Gospels and the New Testament. I was just talking about that. How do I know these things? Because I read them. And I can respect those teachings and yet absolutely disrespect people who choose to use those teachings of love to hate me. So, you tell me if you're going to go somewhere with that, and I don't know if you've already been muted, but let's find out. So there you go. Oh, I'm not reading that, Matt. Just not reading that. Oh my gosh. I will agree, however, one of the things that Matt says is that, asking Philippe, does he actually practice some humility and love the way Jesus tried to teach him to? It's a great point. It's a really great point. I think that's the whole thing, and maybe Philippe took off, who knows? But, when you use anything, when you use science as like a rationalization to hate and discriminate against some other people, you're not practicing science. You're hating and discriminating people and rationalizing it with some random facts. If you're going to use religion, same thing. You're not helping anything here. So, have I seen the new Gap Cat's Eye ad? I have not. Philippe says I drink a lot of juice if I know what he means. I don't. So I guess thanks. Serafina, no. Have I seen the new Gap Cat's Eye ad? I guess I'm gonna need to see it. What is it? What's in it? I mean, should I just pull it up and look at this, or who's first of all, who's Cat's Eye? Maybe I should do that. Am I gonna feel like a fool not knowing this person? Cat's Eye. Oh, it's a girl group. Oh, no, I know who this is. No, I haven't seen this. Wait a minute. Is it good? I mean, I'll just say that. So I do know who this is. Because they're all cuties. I think that's a great, I like their whole style. I like their whole vibe. They're a lot of fun. So, I'll go and look at this if I should. I got to tell you, I haven't, it was iconic. That was well played. Good job, Serafina. I'll admit I haven't heard a lot of their music, but I should totally, I'll go and do it. If you're recommending, I will go and do it. I will go and listen to more. There was one, and I'm not even really sure why, people tell me to go listen to Baby Metal and Blackpink as well. And both of those, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do it someday. I'm going to do it someday. So I'm going to do it. And then I never do. I did, however, listen to Melanie Martinez. And I really, gosh, I cannot remember the name of that song. But that one, she's got the one video where, like, she's dressed up in all the really intricate like jewelry and stuff, and she like blows force fields at like people coming at her. I was like, it's so good. Oh, good. So you love Melanie too. Cool. My 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 son like dumps on me for that. He's like, nobody likes Melanie Martinez anymore. I'm like, what are you doing? Don't thump on me. That's not cool. I like this. I love this quote. I got to tell you, when I first saw this quote by Jimi Hendrix, I was like, man, you know what you should do? Just like play some music. Like, you don't have to do that kind of thing. But once I have read that, or once I knew enough about Jimi Hendrix. Now, by the way, I have always been, well, since I was like 16 or so, a huge Jimi Hendrix fan. Really, really like the guy. He was a big influence on my guitar playing early on. It went away a little bit more towards Stevie Ray Vaughan style, but anyway, very, very good. And I'm just going to read it. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. So true. What else do we have here? Serafina. So let me see. So Angela says she found out that some people have a strong belief in Christianity, but don't practice the belief that you love everyone. Yeah. Where does that even go? How do you even get there? I don't know. The idea that you could be like, well, I practice a religion of love, and so I'm going to be hateful. I don't know. You know what, though? I want to go back. Serafina, do you like Baby Metal or Blackpink? Do you like either of those two? Also, do you like any K-pop? Maybe I should just ask that. Do you like K-pop or J-pop? That's what I need to know. This is interesting. So Angela says she recently found out some people in the Salvation Army accept transgender people. Yeah. Well, that's good to know. I mean, wait a minute. So now Matt says that a transgender friend of his was recently featured in a local Salvation Army commercial in New York State. That was New York, first of all. I mean, not that diminishes, the support there. Just, it does, it's probably easier to be transgender in New York than, say, Florida, right? All right. Hey, what do you think it meant that I drink a lot of juice? Was that like a gay joke? Was this supposed to be like some sort of a slur? Like a gay slur? Cause like I'm married to a woman, and so like I don't even know where that goes. I don't know. All right. Well, I'm an hour and 50 minutes into this. That's cool. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, Matt, I didn't really care either. I think I'm on the verge of shutting the whole thing down here. No, dude didn't practice his own beliefs. Ooh, wait a minute. You know what? I'm not going anywhere when I've got this comment. Elon wanted power because he isn't humble enough to give and show love to his offspring. Yeah, and I would say that doubly for his transgender daughter, Vivian. Right? What a jerk. Elon, not Vivian. Vivian's cool. I featured Vivian in a transgender joy thing maybe a couple of times. She's pretty sweet, but Elon Musk, not so much. He really seems to he seems very full of himself. It's crazy too, because for the most part what he's done is take government subsidies to buy companies that he didn't start, and then takes credit for the whole thing. And says, look at how amazing I am. I build wealth all over everywhere I go. I build wealth everywhere I go. And look, I am this wunderkind at 40 some odd. He's some wunderkind who hasn't had an original idea, because he didn't. I mean, I guess he was part of PayPal, which is something like good job, be part of PayPal, but my goodness, you do not know everything. And Matt, I love this. Because I'm kind of the same. I brought up Twitter earlier in the thing. I don't even know where. I don't know, like it was an hour ago. I brought this up, and I called it Twitter because it's kind of the same thing. If Elon Musk is going to come to me and go, hey, 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 I changed the name, I'm going to go, so did your daughter. So agreed. when he's willing to call his transgender daughter Vivian, then maybe I'll do it. But wait, Patty, why are his gaming skills really bad? Oh, ouch. It's turned into Elon Musk dump time. Oh my gosh. So we have so he'd rather practice witchcraft with ketamine. Rough. Oh, so Punky Princeton has now called me gross. Okay. It's funny because, I do get many people on a couple of streaming services who send me, like, propositions, I think is what I'm going to call them. So anyway, it's a bummer you don't see what they do, but luckily Matt's here to make sure that I don't see what you've done. So bye. Sucks to be you. All right, so Matt says, Elon pays people to play games pretending to be him. No, is that true? Oh, gosh. That's awful. See, because at least you have, like Yoshi P, right? The guy who produces Final Fantasy 14. At least he plays. I mean, at least that guy knows. I heard he only plays, like, Black Mage, and I'm not really sure why. Black Mage is, like, I've had fun, but, anyway. Like, it's not the most active job, I'll just say, in Final Fantasy 14, but anyway, that's a bummer. So Elon Musk pays people to play games as him. That poor kid. That poor kid. I think he really thought he was on, just like #1 with a bullet kind of thing. And I get that. That's I understand that when you've hit #1, you don't need a bullet to hit #1. That comes from a movie called Josie and the Pussycats. I don't know if anybody remembers that movie. It had Rachel Lee Cook in it, and Tara Reid, and Rosario Dawson, and Parker Posey. For the life of me, I cannot think of his name. Big, huge transgender supporter. British. Not going to come to me. I know I've put him in Transgender Joy videos. But anyway, #1 with a bullet. I know Elon thought that he was when like, Trump's, I'm going to bring you into my thing and do all kinds of great stuff. And you're going to be, massive and whatever. But that ended quickly. Poor kid. That ended very quickly. Which is why I'm going to read this one here, which says, Bo Hall says, Elon Musk, Alan Cumming. There you go. Thank you. There's my beautiful wife there. Bring it in to say Alan Cumming. Thank you, honey. Bo Hall brings up the point that Elon Musk is the world's biggest welfare queen. There you go. All right. Now I really am going to shut it down because, I don't know if you remember, but in the very beginning of this, I said that I was really depressed on Monday. Got a great comment from Brenda. So Brenda, I don't know if you saw the beginning of this, but you were all over it. I don't know, where did I put that? It was in the opening. Well, anyway, the point was that I was going to try to feel a little better by doing a live stream. And, anytime I get somebody who responds back to me and like we can have some conversation, it does make me feel better. So I want to bring up, first of all, Sherry over on TikTok, and Red Dog 1, and Tim. I didn't know Tim. But then just so many other people over here on YouTube. Patty and Matt and Bo, and of course my wife. Disabled veteran, I hope we can connect. I'd really love to talk to you, like, for real. If you want to send me an email, it'd be great. But everybody else, Serafina, I'm glad that Serafina dropped in. Even Philippe, because, there was at least some good conversation that came out of it. Maybe really just some funny jokes more than anything. But, all of you, I'm forgetting many of you, but Chris and Brenda and a lot of people. So, and Genevieve and everybody, thank you so much. This always means so much to me, and you've made my Sunday afternoon a little bit better. So thank you so much. I can't name you all because I forget some of you, so I apologize. But thank you, and I will see you on Tuesday. Oh, I got to do my little tagline. I totally forgot. Talk soon. Bye.